Good afternoon, everybody. Actually, Richard has put me in a very challenging situation, I have to confess. So I've been thinking since Tariq Tawfiq called me and Sylvia was following up due diligently to make sure I'm there. I've been thinking, what are the key issues that you would find interesting midday? So I decided I'll start with 4 myths or misperceptions about the SDGs and the private sector. The first one is the 193 heads of state has pledged and endorsed the SDGs in last September 2015, and that pledge was to the UN agencies. That's not true. The pledge was to the people of these 193 nations. So that's number one, and we will discuss today. What do I mean by that? The second is that's solely the responsibility of the government. So you will question us at the end of each year, and you'll see what have the government achieved in attaining these SDGs, the 17 goals. That's also another misperception. It's a joint responsibility for all stakeholders: civil society, government, private sector, and development partners. So the UN here is a responsible party. Right, Rhonda? The third misperception is lagging. So we keep on saying leaving no one behind. So governments need to be very careful to make sure that they're inclusive and leaving no one behind. That's another myth. It's not only leaving no one behind, but it's also leaving no country behind and no continent behind. And that's a major responsibility of the private sector and all those dealing with the negotiations for free trade agreements, all the different agreements that take place at the international level. And the fourth misperception, again, is, let's first just go through the 17 goals and see where we go. The misperception, again, was let's not do early voluntarily review. That's too early for us, because then the gaps, deficiencies, and the challenges will show up, and the UN agencies will be watching countries that they have not yet delivered. That's another misperception, because what have we done? Where has Egypt gone? First, we wanted to make sure that, in fact, it's very inclusive, and that the pledge is the heads of state pledge to their people, the nations. And hence, in Egypt, we've moved forward with extensive consultations. We wanted to make sure that we're very inclusive, not just at the government level. Definitely the 17 goals are a responsibility of all ministries, but not all ministries. The private sector, civil society is pivotal here, youth, women, so we wanted to make sure all governorates, no one is definitely left behind in the very early process of putting the strategy together. Hence, the pledge was a joint pledge, a joint responsibility from all to make sure that we have a better world and that we make sure that our nation is operating most efficiently and the people are getting the best utilities, best services, and that inclusive is definitely sustainable and inclusive. Hence, why did we go with the early review? Because we had internal discussions, and we had 2 different groups when we were discussing, because governments proposed the early voluntary review. So we had 2 points of view. So let me give you a bit of insider information. We had one point of view that said, let's go early review. We're still at a very early stage of the economic reform program, and this is the time where we want to acknowledge challenges. We've just launched a new program. Let's identify the gaps, and let's put that forward to our development partners, to the private sector, to civil society, to see where can they help, what can they finance, where can they contribute. So we did at the end of the day, and there was another point of view that said, that's too early. This will show all the deficiencies. We haven't achieved much, and we still have a long way to go. Let's wait for a year at least when we've delivered more and we have something to share with the international community in New York.